Hey, it's Luca and welcome back to the Transcending Thought channel and podcast. I'm combining psychology with spirituality in these videos to help you to heal and manifest a better life. Moving forwards with this channel, I feel as though I've laid the foundations for the spiritual teachings that I'm offering here on this channel, and I feel like I've hopefully made some good videos on living presently, transcending thought. Now what I'm going to do is begin going more deeply into questions that often come to me on one-on-one sessions, also in my comments and on DMs and Instagram. Lots of people ask me questions. I'm now going to begin answering a lot of these questions for you. And the first question is, how do I find my life's purpose? So this is a very common question I get asked, how do I find my life's purpose? And I'm going to attempt to answer it now because there are two layers to this question I really like, which is addressed by Eckhart Tolle in his book A New Earth, which I highly recommend. And he talks about the idea of an inner purpose and an outer purpose. Now, in our Western culture, we only ever really talk about an outer purpose, which is the level of purpose we have in the external realm. In other words, what we do. So the roles we carry out: mother, father, son, brother, daughter, doctor, lawyer, all of these roles that we carry out, that's our outer purpose. What we kind of create, what we do, what we build, how we help other people, these all lie in our outer purpose, and that's ultimately all we really ever talk about in our Western culture. I remember one of the first questions I ever got asked in school was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that's often many people's experience. The first thing we ever get kind of pointed to is the future. What do you want to be? What do you want to become? We never really get taught to how to be ourselves, how to live in schools, unfortunately. Hopefully that will change one day. So I'm going to try and address this more generically to aim to answer this for a range of people. And ultimately, how do we find our life's purpose? When people ask this question, usually what they're referring to is, how do I find what I want to do with my life? What am I supposed to be doing? How can I find something that fulfills me? In usually a level of work or creation or building or a business or something like that. So my advice to this, firstly, always, is to not go too deeply at first towards your outer purpose, which is the external world, but focusing at first more deeply on your inner purpose, which is awakening, finding who you are, realizing your essence as the awareness, the being of who you are, the deep I am, and knowing yourself as that primarily, realizing yourself as something much greater, much deeper than simply your mind and your body and your egoic sense of me, of I. Overcoming that sense of individuality, overcoming this sense of I am an individual fragmented person. All that I have in this world to operate from is my thoughts and my hands. That's how the ego sees itself. I'm separate from everything and everyone. I need lots more things to add on to me to feel whole, is the ego. When that's all you know yourself to be, your primary purpose is to wake up, to become present, to become still, to realize yourself as the one consciousness, to realize yourself as consciousness, and to reside in that knowing of who you are. That is your inner purpose, and it aligns with the present moment. How do you find your inner purpose? How do you make sure you're fulfilling your inner purpose? You make sure that your state of consciousness is fully here and now, aligned with the present moment. Finding deeply presence, the state of presence. Because if you're not in presence, if you're not aligned with the universal one consciousness, you will be suffering, you will be in resistance, you will not be happy, you will be creating further chaos in the world for yourself and other people, very likely. That's what the ego does. So when working with people one-on-one, usually what I'm doing in coaching sessions, when people ask me this question, how do I find my life's purpose? The first thing that I always point them to as a practice is to practice aimlessness. Aimlessness is a nice word in Buddhism. Practicing aimlessness means practicing becoming comfortable not knowing your life's purpose and not seeking your identity, your sense of self in your outer purpose, in your roles, in your what you're going to achieve, what you're going to create, what you're going to build. In other words, your future. Not seeking your identity and your achievements in the future. Practicing dropping them for a moment. Who are you without your future? Who are you without your goals? Who are you without your sense of responsibilities towards the future and achievements and successes? Who are you without all of those things? Who are you without future? Who are you without goals? When I point that to people one-on-one, the thing they often say to me is, I have no idea who I am without my future. My future has anchored me in my sense of identity. Same with the past often, but stick with future for now. Future is often the thing that anchors people in their sense of identity, their sense of self. I am my goals. I am a future lawyer, a future doctor, a future businessman, woman. What would happen if you dropped all of those for a moment and practiced becoming comfortable not knowing your purpose, practicing aimlessness, practicing not knowing where you're going? Scary thing to the ego. But quite exciting and quite powerful for you. I often say the moment you start practicing not having goals for a moment, doesn't mean never, just right now, practicing letting go of all of your goals, all of your sense of achievements, all of your sense of striving towards where you're going, dropping all of that for a moment and just becoming fully surrendered into the present moment more deeply. Something strange happens. If you can overcome the fear, at first there might be quite a lot of fear, there might be quite a lot of resistance in you. Observe that in yourself. Just observe that's the ego fearing its demise because it's more probably made up of its future, of the sense of future self. Move that all away for a moment. Keep pushing through that fear. Just let it be there, observe it, but keep going, practicing dropping all of those goals, all of that future, coming more deeply into the present moment. Once you've overcome and pushed through that sense of fear and resistance, there's this really strange sense of peace that arises. And there's a power in that peace. It's kind of this deep power felt within. Presence, the power of now, power of presence. Because rather than having this sense of I'm going in that direction only and I just need to get there, an infinite field of pure potentiality opens up to you. You're not defined by where you're going. There's an infinite field of pure potentiality. But when you're in the state of presence, there's not a fear behind you there. It's an excitement. It's a joy. This is exciting. And there's this power behind that sense of I don't know what my future holds. There's two ways you can view that, from the ego, which is fear, or from spirit, which is very exciting. A lot of people don't like the idea of not knowing. They don't like the idea of uncertainty, very understandably. But I often say there's two possibilities in life. Either you know exactly how your life's going to turn out, or you don't. Which one would you prefer? Would you really want to know exactly what's going to happen from this point forwards? You want to know exactly where you're going to be in 10, 15, 20 years' time, and you know everything leading up to that? What kind of life is that? You wouldn't choose that. But the only other option is uncertainty, and that's the one you've been given. So embrace the uncertainty in these moments. Practice aimlessness. Practice not knowing. And the reason why I'm saying that is because very likely, if you have been striving towards something for a long period of time, it's very possible, not always, but very likely, it's an egoically driven goal. And ultimately what that means is, once I get that thing, that achievement, that fulfillment in the future, once I get that and I've achieved that, then I'll be happy, then I'll be safe, then I'll be fulfilled, says the ego. But it's not true. Because all of the time you're in ego, you'll never feel safe. You'll never feel fulfilled. You'll never feel whole. You'll constantly feel uneasy. no matter how much money in the bank account, no matter what job, what relationship, challenges will always arise. You will always feel uneasy in the egoic state of consciousness. And you'll continuously look ahead again for the future, for the next thing. Okay, I've got all of the money now. Now I need a relationship. Oh no, my relationship's having problems. I need another relationship. Oh no, I need another job now. I need more money in my business. This money isn't enough, I need more. I need a nicer house now. I don't like where my house is, I need to move over here. No, I don't like being here, I want to be over there. Oh no, now I've got an illness. It's just a continuous series of challenges in life. That's all it seems to be here. Of course, because challenges is what pushes us to evolve and grow. That's what life is, it's challenging you. But ultimately, the greatest challenge to overcome is the challenge of the egoic state of consciousness. Awakening out of that into presence. That's why Eckhart says in this book, you have one purpose, and your purpose is to awaken. And that same purpose is for every human on this planet, because the moment you awaken, this sense of wholeness and fulfillment comes in to your being. You are aligned with the present moment. And from that, as the Buddhists call it, right action comes from you. The moment you get your state of consciousness right, which is practicing surrender, being, presence, a heightened state of alertness to the now, a more quality and attention that flows out of you into the present moment. You are honouring the present moment, and you're in that flow state of the right state of consciousness. Right action will flow out of you, and you're also connected more deeply to the source of life, which will push you to your outer purpose. It will unfold for you. Your outer purpose will find you once you get your inner purpose right, which is your state of consciousness. This is why I always say to people, you don't need to control your outer purpose. You take responsibility for your state of consciousness, which is presence, being, surrender. Letting go of resistance, letting go of desire, becoming more present, more conscious, more in the now, more aligned with now. And you practice that. At first, this will feel perhaps quite uneasy. It may be met with some resistance. But you are overcoming the boundaries the ego has put on you, the limitations the ego has set for itself. You overcome those, and an infinite field of possibility opens up to you. And the universal consciousness, the one consciousness that you are, meets you and pushes you in the right direction. You align yourself with the impulse of the universe, the universal impulse. And the universal impulse is that it wants to become conscious. It wants to know itself, and it wants to awaken. That is what the universe wants. So if you align yourself with the universal impulse of awakening now, if you focus on awakening, the universe will come to meet you, and it will guide you to where it can best place you to fulfill its impulse, the universal impulse, God's will. This is why I always struggle sometimes with the idea of free will. I'm going to make a separate video on this, but I just always say this idea of free will. I'm going to come on this in more detail, but I'm just going to say here, I never use the term free will too much. I'm not saying we don't have free will, but I'm just saying I never use the term free will too much, because free will implies a will freed from the universal will. It implies duality, individuality. And that's the illusion we're consistently trying to dispel here with these videos and with spirituality. It's letting go of this sense of individual responsibility and surrendering into the higher will of the universe, of being, of the one consciousness. The analogy we could give is that you are an apple on a tree, and you feel as this little apple, this sense of responsibility to ripen every other apple on the tree. There's hundreds of apples on the tree, and you are ripening, and you feel like you need to ripen every other apple. No, you surrender, realize yourself as the tree, and the tree ripens the other apples. There's not much that needs to be done with you individually. But when you surrender, I'm going to drop that analogy now because it doesn't work anymore, but when you surrender as a human being, the universe Consciousness pushes you to where you can be of best service to help others awaken. Resources come to find you. The universe will guide you. So how do you find your life's purpose? My guidance to you would be, observe what you're doing right now. Observe the doing that you are doing right now in your career, or perhaps you're a parent, you're a stay-at-home mother, or whatever it might be. Observe what you're doing and just ask yourself, does it bring you fulfillment? And simply practice aligning your inner purpose with what you're doing now. Don't worry about change just for this moment. Just over the next few days, when you're going to work or whatever you're doing, when you're handling the tasks that are set for you as a human being and you're doing what's required of you, rather than focusing on what you're doing, focus on how you're doing it. Focus on aligning yourself with your inner purpose, which is your state of consciousness, which is surrender, which is presence. Bring presence into your doing. Bring a quality and attention into your doing. Focus on surrendering into your doing. Surrender means to no longer resist what you have to do, but to do it willingly. To say, this is what is required of me right now, so I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to complain, I'm not going to resist. And align yourself, your state of consciousness, with that. And the more that you practice that, your outer purpose will start to find you. Synchronicities will come in, things will help you out. All of the time you get your inside purpose right. So I'm going to read you this little section here from A New Earth. So there may be a period of insecurity and uncertainty. What should I do? As the ego is no longer running your life, the psychological need for external security, which is illusory anyway, lessens. You are able to live with uncertainty, even enjoy it. When you become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open up in your life. It means fear is no longer a dominant factor in what you do and no longer prevents you from taking action to initiate change. The Roman philosopher Tacitus rightly observed that the desire for safety stands against every great and noble enterprise. If uncertainty is unacceptable to you, it turns into fear. If it is perfectly acceptable, it turns into increased aliveness, alertness, and creativity. In other words, my guidance to you would be to let go of the need to define yourself based on future, based on goals, and become comfortable practicing aimlessness for a moment. You still do what's required of you. You still honor the doing that you are taking part in the present moment. However, you practice for moments, for a little while. Practice aimlessness. Aimlessness means I don't really know where I'm going. I don't really know what's required of me. I'm going to surrender into the now and honor my doing in the present moment fully. I'm going to let go of goals just for a moment. It's a very powerful practice. It's met with resistance at first. If you can push through that resistance, the uncertainty turns into joy, as Eckhart says. It turns into excitement. So you let go of this, I know exactly where I'm going to be in 10 years' time. You drop all of that and become fully comfortable here, now, presently. You honor the doing. You honor where you are. You practice becoming comfortable in the now. You sink deeply into the now, and you handle whatever arises in your now with honor, with care, and with attention. Because ultimately, every great achievement in life, every great achievement that anyone has ever achieved, has only been a succession of well-attended to small steps. There has never been anyone, rarely perhaps anyone, that's just fully achieved something massive. It's always been a succession of well-attended to small steps, like climbing the mountain, one step at a time. So, if you're looking for your life's purpose, some of you may know your life's purpose, and that's amazing. You would still bring presence into the doing. But if you're not entirely sure, let go of the idea of your life's purpose. Practice surrender, practice awakening, practice being, practice aligning yourself with the here and now by becoming momentarily aimless. You still honor, you still do your work, you still go to work and do what was required of you, but you practice surrender and aligning yourself with your individual inside purpose. And over time, your outer purpose will begin to reveal itself to you. But even if it doesn't for a little while, it probably will, but even if it didn't for a little while, you are still, I would say, doing more for the planet than most people that are seemingly doing massive, really amazing things, but are in ego. Because when you are aligned with awakening, you are raising the collective field of the human consciousness. You are raising the human consciousness, which will be making a shift in the external world anyway. So to summarize, take responsibility for your state of consciousness by awakening, by being present, by surrendering, and your outer purpose will find you.